Het-Heru, this is Kasank Ma Kipperu and Namaste. Today I want to talk to you about a very important subject, which is Ma'at and Het-Heru, how to have a spiritual relationship. And I should say how to have a spiritual and loving relationship. Now, we live in a Western world where Western practices and culture, are basically the dominant type of culture that there is, and which is basically no culture or amalgamation of cultures. But what I want to kind of put in perspective is what is a spiritual relationship, because we see a lot of these gurus out there selling books and talking about how to find the perfect mate and what makes a relationship work. Men are from Mars, women from Venus, and all this stuff. So I want to kind of get through all of that and kind of give you a more realistic ancient cultural approach to relationships that can actually be adapted for modern times. But I want to say that no one is an expert on relationships. We're all here because we are consciousness in the physical body of Geb, having an experience. And the reason that we're having this experience is to learn and to grow and to realize our divinity, become God man and God woman. All right. So the first thing I want to touch upon is that the way that we see things now in modern society is based on the idea that if someone is doing wrong or someone is not acting in accordance to the way the norm should be, society dictates the way the norm is, that we look at them as some type of weird or aberration or some type of criminal or whatever. The thing that we have to always keep in mind, and this is very important for relationships, is that when you see a dysfunction or somebody not acting the way they should or the way you want them to, is that we all have certain needs that need to be fulfilled. And when there's a void, then we consciously and unconsciously seek toward filling that void. And ancient cultures were built on the principle of Ma'at. And Ma'at is the interrelationship and interdependence between things. And Ma'at governs relationships. And Ma'at never looks, because Ma'at is truth, justice, and righteousness. Ma'at never looks to put in place punishment, but Ma'at looks at, why did this person commit this wrong? And let's put the person back into balance. And we're not looking at this person to place blame or to enact punishment, but again, to bring things in order. And Ma'at is order. In fact, Ma'at is the daughter of Ra, and it was said that Ma'at is food for Ra. The truth nourishes your kundalini, your energy, your Ra force, or your chi. All right. So another goddess that governs relationship is Het-Heru. Now I'm going to explain the difference between the two, so we have to understand, because there are different types of relationships that fill different types of purposes and goals and objectives, and depending upon how spiritually developed you are or how mature you are, you could be in one or many types of relationships, right? So Ma'at is a spiritual relationship. Ma'at is saying you're getting involved with somebody because you understand that you're a spiritual being, they're a spiritual being, and together that union will help foster an understanding of where you need to go as far as being divine beings and realizing your incarnation objective, or why you incarnated on this planet. Het-Heru was also known as, I believe she's Venus. She's the most beautiful of the goddesses, and she's also known in the Greek mythology as Hathor. I believe it's Hathor, and she is the epitome of grace, elegance, again, beauty. And what she does is she's seeking out of the relationship good feelings, good emotions, that she wants the best for herself, and she wants a very pleasing, loving, and harmonious relationship. So that's what she's looking for. Whereas Ma'at is looking to say, now Ma'at's in the relationship is about love, but it's unconditional love. It's love seeking nothing in return. All right. So that's the two that we have to kind of like get the difference. Now, Het-Heru is not unrequited love. She wants you to love her back. She wants you to say she's beautiful. She wants you to make her feel good. Het-Heru wants to look good, smell good, and she wants a mate that's going to look good as well. In fact, if you study the Egyptian tree of life, you'll find out that Het-Heru had a relationship with Heru-Kohudi, who is, the enforcer of the law. And Heru-Kohudi and Ma'at worked together. because if he violates Ma'at's law, she will send Haruko to put you back in balance, the enforcer of the law. So Het-Heru had a relationship with Haruko, we can say god of war. You know, Haruko is very tough. He fought at the Battle of Ben-Hutet. And but Het-Heru ended up marrying Heru, or Horus. And Horus is, as we know, Horus in the Egyptian mythology is the son of Osir or Osiris and Aset or Isis. And Isis had Horus or Heru through an immaculate conception. So Het-Heru ended up marrying Heru, who was the ruler. She had a relationship with Haruko. It was very exciting. It was like full of love, passion, and all that. But the man she ended up marrying or being with was Heru. Now, the mature relationship is a relationship, of course, and the relationship that is more of a younger type of energy is a Het-Heru relationship, because we find with the youth, they're looking always at the physical. And that's what the society is based on, left brain thinking, looking at the physical, but not looking internal and understanding that we're all consciousness and we come here to have an experience through this fourth dimensional holographic projection that we're doing to interact with to gain the experience. Okay. So that's what it's all about. Let me read some quick qualities on both Ma'at and Het-Heru so you can get an understanding, or Hathor, an understanding of the two and what they're all about. So we look at Ma'at. She is just, she is holistic, generous, sharing, optimistic, liberal, magnanimous, moral, striving for advancement and wealth in a positive manner, religious, successful, fortunate, law-abiding, fair, charitable, and deferring to elders. And she doesn't traffic in evil in any way. That will be a negative aspect to her. So that's Ma'at. So let's look at Het-Heru. Het-Heru, now she is very, very different. Now, Het-Heru is very sociable. She's affectionate. She's pleasure-loving, quiet, harmonious, joyful, sweet, engaging, flexible, sympathetic, graceful, merry, and cheerful. So now, with those two in mind as a starting point, let's understand something, right? In ancient culture, men and women just didn't go to social gatherings and date and, and see somebody that they thought was physically attractive and get into a relationship. It was usually, depending on the society, it was done through the parents who would pick a mate for their daughter or their son. And it was an arranged marriage. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into that. But part of the reason was that when you're young, you don't know how to pick a mate, because you're more caught up in emotions, and it's easier for you to be susceptible because you haven't developed your frontal lobe. So it's easier for you to be susceptible to the right brain emotional wooing and wowing in a relationship. And usually the father would bring some type of dowry to the girl's parents to show that he had the ability to support the woman that he was interested in marrying. But prior and before that, I want you to understand, and this is very important, there was always an initiation, meaning men will be taken to a certain clan or a group of men, and he would go through initiation where he would become a man. And he was taught what being a man is supposed to be and what his role was in the family unit. And the same thing with the woman, she was taught that. And one of the most important things, because Ma'at is a female deity, women are the facilitators of cultures, and Ma'at is moral, and Ma'at is culture and spiritual. So it was very important that women, when they would raise the family in this communal setting, that she would teach the children about culture, about spirituality, about being moral and just, because she was the facilitator of culture, and the man had his role. And Ma'at also signifies cosmologics and understanding how things have a place in time, and everything has an assigned role. Now, this doesn't mean that everyone is confined to their particular role. For example, most men are aggressive, most women aren't aggressive. We can say they're meek or passive, if you want to say it, but it doesn't mean that there's certain women that can't be aggressive. Yeah, there are women that can be aggressive, but what we're talking about is not the exception to the rule. We're just talking about the general rule and what's going to make for a harmonious, functioning relationship, and which goal is to bring forth children and continue the family lineage. And you'll notice that most times for example, if you look at ancient civilizations, like Kemetic, African, you'll see that how well you socialize, which is a Ma'at and Het-Heru thing, and how well you took care of your family and your mate determined if you would be, if it would determine how good you would be as a leader, as a king, depending upon, because there was always the microcosm. We looked at the small things that were done and how those small things would translate into the bigger things. So if you were, like I said, if you were good in your relationship with the children, your wife, then they would say this man would be a good king or leader of the clan or whatever, the nation, So now let's get more into the spiritual aspect of it. Now, in today's society, we don't have the arranged marriages. We don't have all of that stuff. What we have is, dating sites and networking and clubs and pubs and bars, and we go and meet people and we hook up that way. But if we're looking for a spiritual relationship, then things have to kind of turn in a different direction. We have to first start understanding that the reason for us getting into the relationship with our mate is to realize our divinity. And I'm saying is that you're going to go through trials and tribulations in your relationship. But if you have a higher purpose for that relationship and you're using those trials and tribulations to grow spiritually, then the relationship becomes more solid with that understanding from you and your mate. All right. So that's the basis of a spiritual relationship. All right. And spiritual relationships don't come from you finding somebody who happens to be involved, who's a Wiccan or who is Kemetic or who is Christian and all that. And those things, are important, but it also comes from the fact in the sense that it has to be ordained by an objective measurement. Ma'at, his mate, which I didn't mention, Ma'at's mate is Tehuti, and Tehuti is wisdom. He's the oracle. And usually in ancient culture, when a man or a woman came together, they would do an oracle reading. They would go before a diviner, and the diviner would do an oracle reading. They would cast stones or bones or Yahweh sticks or however you want to call it. And that oracle reading, which is a communication directly to the source or the divine, would tell the diviner or the priest or priestess if these two should be together, if it was ordained by God, not the priest, not a minister, if it was ordained by God through the oracle reading. And not only that, the oracle would tell you what troubles would be ahead in the relationship. So if there was going to be infidelity, if there's going to be cheating, stealing, things of that nature, the oracle would reveal that. And it may not be that the oracle would say, because of this, you shouldn't get married. It may say, this is what you're going to experience, but you should get together, go through the experience, and be at peace with whatever happens, and learn from the experience, but stay together and work together. And so with that stamp of approval from the oracle, the two would then come together. They would go to the marriage ceremony. And then after that, the oracle was still in place and used, or the diviner, as the last word when a conflict came up in a relationship. So when you and your mate didn't agree on something or something happened, instead of you arguing and trying to prove who's right, you would go before the oracle, and the oracle would say, she's right, he's right, you're both wrong, and this is what has to happen. So the oracle as a spiritual device, and we're talking the ephod, the Meduna tear, the I Ching, they're the Oracle of Delphi, whatever, the oracle would work in the relationship to solve any conflicts. But in addition to that, what you would have is the family, the immediate family, the society, and the clan, and the nation would watch over the relationship, and if necessary, put social pressure if things started to get out of balance. So if the man or the woman started to do things that were correct, like spending time with another person where there could be an opportunity to cheat and things of that nature, society would then intervene and put pressure, and that could come through shaming, to make sure that no one was doing wrong, or they fulfilled their roles and responsibility in that relationship. So you were monitored and watched by the clan, tribe, whatever you want to say, the nation. But as we progress through history, The small clans and the tribes became great empires and nations, and you no longer had that kind of small community that would watch over you and shame you. And this is where you get the African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child, and things of that nature. So anyway, now the other aspect to it that we could get into is like polygamy. I won't talk about that, but the other thing is we have to also understand that you have many lives, and you experience many lives. You don't remember it though, but there are often times that you will come and reincarnate to finish a relationship. So this is what, you may hear a new age or self-help guru say, or relationship guru say, your soulmate, your spiritual mate. That's because you were married to that person in a previous life, and you've come back to resolve an issue or to finish the relationship. Those are not always the cases, and it would take a diviner to let you know of that person if you were in a relationship with that person before. All right, and you can get into a lot of intricacies with that. One of the things that the oracles are good at is telling you how you two will mesh. And not only that, but the oracles, but if you have a deep understanding of astrology or the I Ching, you can get very detailed in seeing how your personality will mesh with your mate's personality. You can actually see it down to the details, because we all, like, for example, Ma'at. If you are a person who has a Ma'at personality, you're very expansive. You like to work on many projects at the same time. You do love your mate, but that love is kind of cold, because Ma has a cold type of love. It's giving, seeking nothing in return. So it can tell you how you two will mesh, and it can tell you what you need to work on, because you in the relationship may need to work on a Ma'at thing, and that's giving, seeking nothing in return. And that may be very hard for you. You've never done that before, because you're always in the Het-Heru mode. Is like, you got to tell me that I'm beautiful, I'm pretty, I'm lovely. You don't never tell me these things. So if you have a Ma'at reading, that means that you have to love this person in spite of what this person may not say, or will say to you. So, and on the reverse, the person has to understand that even though they're not getting all of this physicality and love and wooing, that the person does deeply love them on a very spiritual level. Because I talked about before how Ma'at is a higher, it's a more mature type of relationship, and Het-Heru is more youthful, because as you know, she went for Haruka Hudi, was a warrior, and muscle guy, was going into battle, and she was wooed by that, but eventually ended up with Horus. So those are the types of things that really make for a loving spiritual relationship. And unfortunately, in Western society, where we have a high degree of divorce, and that people are getting together and matching together based on external appearances, and women are having altering their bodies to look more attractive. We find now that the relationships don't last, because they're not built on the spiritual foundation. And let me tell you something, for a person who's brought up in a spiritual, or who spent a lot of time in the spiritual society, when you get involved in a spiritual relationship, it is one of the most challenging relationships you can be involved in, because you make a commitment to stick it out, and that that whatever happens, you're going to have to take it and just brush it off and keep moving forward, and commit to that relationship, and commit to the oracle governing the relationship, and commit to a spiritual society which will put pressure on you to make sure the relationship works. And once you get that reading, and it tells you what you need to work on, it reveals to you a lot about your character flaws. You may think to yourself, wow, I never knew that I always wanted to be complimented, or I had to be complimented, and now you're telling me in this relationship that I'm not going to get that, but yet the relationship will help me realize my divinity. So that's a hard pill to swallow, because in this society, we're taught the wrong things, that every relationship we get in has to have, the man bringing the woman flowers and, the woman has to be so beautiful, 10, a perfect body that almost no woman has. It's all airbrushed and computer generated, so you're given these erroneous ideas of beauty also in Western culture when we know that beauty, basically is a cultural, it's basically, it is not an objective thing. It's very much a subjective thing. And also a person's personality can be very beautiful, and the way they treat you can be very beautiful. But we tend not to look at those things because, we're caught up in acquiring things, acquiring a trophy wife, acquiring money, acquiring a boat, yacht, and nice car, and all of that. And the relationship with a handsome man or a beautiful woman just becomes another acquisition or another thing that we've acquired to look good and have a status about. You know what I mean? I mean, if you look at Kim Kardashian and Kanye, it's all about, oh, look at them, their social lives. Look how beautiful they look as a couple. But what are they like inside? Are they meant to be together? Are they fulfilling their objective, their spiritual objectives for being on this planet? Are they faithful in their relationship? Because many of these celebrities are not faithful, but they pretend to be in front of the cameras so no one will know, and things like that. So we have to keep all of that in mind. So if you're looking at getting involved in a spiritual relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has to be of the same religion or spiritual belief as you, but that does help. Now, the way you can determine that too is the oracle can let you know if it's important for you to be with somebody who is of the same religion, and also turning to a kind of another topic of the same race, because you come from a family line, and when you reincarnate and come to this existence, this planet, you're supposed to continue that because you're still learning and growing. Now, it may not be your destiny to be with somebody who's of the same ethnicity or color as you. And it may be that you may have to look outside of your race, and the way to know that again is ask the oracle, and the oracle will tell you, this is the person you're supposed to be with, even though you come from, maybe opposing cultures or different cultures, and then sometimes the oracle will say it's very important that you do find someone in your culture or in your race, and you should be with that person, and no matter how long it takes you to find that person, So you see these, there's these debates about, what do you think of interracial relationships or interracial couples? You and I cannot really comment on that, because the only one that can comment on if two individuals should be together is God through the oracles. God speaks to the oracles through a diviner to say, I have sanctioned this relationship, and yes, they should be together. If God said Kanye West and Kim Kardashian belong together, no matter what you or I think or say, they should be together, because they are fulfilling a spiritual objective to come into the realization of their God-man and God-woman powers. All right. That's just how it is. And we can get uptight about that. We can have all these opinions, because you know what? You get caught up on looking at the surface of things, and you don't see that in reality, there's just one consciousness, and we all are interacting with ourselves, so your mate is another aspect of you, and your mate is there to teach you things about you. And even if there are problems in their relationship, those problems are there to reveal character flaws that are going on within you, or things going on within your psyche, because you picked that mate for a reason. That you're with that person for a reason, and hopefully it's for the right reasons. And working with the oracles and working with a spiritual community to help the relationship along will increase the odds of the relationship lasting. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but it will increase the odds. The problem that we're getting in is too many of these dating coaches and people that out there professing to be experts in relationships don't know what they're talking about. you know. And what I would advise to you is to start studying astrology, studying your sign, understanding who you are, your sun and your moon sign, how, what makes you, you know, are you a Haruka type person? Are you a Het-Heru type person? Are you an Aset or Isis type person? And speaking of that, Aset, as we know, gave birth to Heru. So Aset's energy and who she is, she's very motherly, nurturing. You know, she's very devoted and dedicated. I mean, she set out on a mission to resurrect Osiris, and she did. And he was restored to leadership positions. So that energy, if you are Isis or an Aset type person, you are very devoted to that relationship. That's a type of till death do us part type of thing, you know. So my point was, we have to go back to some of the ancient traditions and stop listening to these gurus out here who think they know what they're talking about, but just want to sell a book or a lecture. You know, what's best for you. Start exploring it. But I highly recommend you work with the oracle. You know, if you're going to date somebody, especially if you're going to marry somebody and have kids with them, find a diviner and do a reading and bring that person with you, because the diviner will lay it all out and explain the trouble that you'll have, the trials and tribulations that you'll have. And you and that person have to come into an agreement and understand, you know, why you two are together, you know. And you also should do a destiny reading. Like, what is your destiny? What did you individually come here to achieve, you know? And what did your mate come to achieve? And with that understanding and everything laid out on the table, it makes for a better union, a better coming together, you know. And Osar, the uniter of Upper and Lower Egypt, was known as the great uniter. And he was also symbolized by corn, you know, which is kind of a metaphor for, you know, things being plentiful or fertile and things of that nature. And there's other gods and goddesses that have roles in relationships, you know, but we can go into that in another video. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel to get more videos. So this has been Kasakma Keperu. Explore your spiritual relationship. Find your partner, and I'm wishing you happiness, love, and peace. Amen.